Okay, in this video we're going to start chapter 22, the digestive system. So we're going to get through the overview and we're going to get all the way to the pharynx, and that's the goal in this first video. So this system typically is easier for students because you basically know what the purpose in this is. It's the organs that break down food into the nutrients that can be delivered by the bloodstream to the cells in your body. And that's basically the purpose. You all know we eat so that we can get nourishment and nutrients and get those to the different parts, all the cells in our body. All the organs that are located start at the head, of course with the mouth, and then they go down into the abdominopelvic cavity. Now you have two types of organs. You have the alimentary canal, the organs of that, also known as your gastrointestinal or your GI tract, or some people call it the digestive tract. All of those basically are the same thing. And then the second type of organ are your accessory organs. So with your alimentary canal, this is just a tube. It's a continuous tube through where food passes directly through it. It starts at the oral cavity or at your mouth, goes to the pharynx, goes down your esophagus into your stomach, your small intestines, and finally your large intestines. And then from there, whatever's left, your food residue, will of course be defecated from the body. And then you have the accessory organs, which are not part of the alimentary or the GI tract because they just assist in digestion in some way. Your teeth, tongue, salivary glands, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas are your accessory organs. Food doesn't necessarily pass directly through these areas except for in the mouth, but they do secrete help with digestion. Your liver, gallbladder, and pancreas are going to secrete really important digestive enzymes. And then, of course, your teeth, tongue are going to help chew food, start that mechanical breakdown. And the salivary glands help produce saliva, and they also are going to start with the breakdown. Excuse me. But the most fundamental function is to take food into the body, break it down into its nutrients so that those can be used by the body cells. Now, a few other really important functions are to play critical roles in fluid, electrolyte, and acid-base balance or homeostasis. This involves taking in water and electrolytes through the diet and delivering those to the blood. Another function is to ingest vitamins and minerals, produce hormones, and of course excrete any metabolic waste that are there. There are some basic processes or some basic things that the digestive system has to perform in order to carry out these functions. The first one's called ingestion, and that's bringing food and water into the system. Of course, this is in the mouth. Secretion. The digestive organs contain both endocrine and exocrine glands that have to secrete a variety of stuff: mucus, enzymes, acid, hormones. All of those substances are to help with breaking down the food. Then we go through the process of propulsion. This is when the food and liquids pass from one digestive organ to the next. It's basically really big rhythmic contractions of smooth muscle in that alimentary canal called peristalsis. This is also helped by mucus in multiple organs in this system. And then the food is broken down by the process of digestion. And we have two types of digestion, mechanical and chemical. After we have digestion, really important process of absorption. And this is once the food is digested, they move through the wall of the alimentary canal into the blood or the lymphatic vessels. Water, electrolytes, and vitamins are also absorbed into the blood in this same manner. And then certain ingested materials are not digestible or usable in the body, so they're going to have to exit through the feces or as feces through defecation. Defecation also is a way to eliminate certain metabolic waste. It's just basically a specialized form of propulsion. So we're just getting rid of the stuff that your body no longer needs. Okay, so then we get into motility, and this is how we regulate motility, because motility is basically the movement. A lot of movement going on in the alimentary canal, and it's a key process in every part of the canal. In the oral canal, the pharynx, and the upper part of your esophagus, and then the last part of the digestive intestine, the large intestine, the motility is because of skeletal muscle, so it's due to skeletal muscle. And then the rest of your alimentary canal, motility is process done by smooth muscle. Each type is regulated by the nervous system and or the endocrine system. The nervous system consists of nerves in your autonomic nervous system, or the ANS. You remember learning about this in Anatomy 201. Now, the enteric nervous system, or the ENS, is a special part of the ANS that is self-contained in the digestive system. So it extends from the esophagus to the anus. The anus is the very last or terminal portion of the large intestine. So the enteric system is basically a nervous system that's housed within the digestive system. All right, so let's get into the membranes. If we have organs in the abdominopelvic cavity, then we're going to have serous membranes, blood vessels, and nerves. So these are called your peritoneal membranes. They're the largest serous membranes in the body, and you've got two layers that make up this peritoneal membrane. You have the outer layer, which by now you already know is the parietal peritoneum. It lines the inner surface of the body wall. Where the parietal peritoneum meets the abdominal organs, it folds in on itself, and then it becomes the inner layer, which is the visceral peritoneum, or the serosa. This forms the outer layers of the actual organs. So this is the inner part that actually touches the organs. Now, between these two layers, we have the peritoneal cavity, which of course contains that serous fluid. Now, the organs, how we organize these. If the organ is located completely within the peritoneal cavity, it's intraperitoneal. Other organs are retroperitoneal, or that means that they're either partly or they're totally outside the peritoneal cavity. Okay, so that visceral peritoneum is going to fold over itself around certain organs, especially in the small intestine. That's going to form structures called mesenteries. Mesenteries are there to support and bind organs together to keep the small intestine in a particular shape so that it fits well in the cavity. They also house blood vessels, nerves, lymphatic vessels. They anchor these in place. The place where it attaches to the large intestine is called the mesocolon. There are two mesenteries that are especially important, your greater omentum and your lesser omentum. The greater omentum is a unique part of the mesenteries, or unique among the rest, because it actually has 4 layers of folded visceral peritoneum, and it goes from the base of the stomach all the way down to the pelvis. And then your lesser omentum is a smaller mesentery. It extends from the medial surface of the stomach and it connects it to the liver. Okay. So let's get into the organs of digestion. We begin at the oral cavity, or the mouth. 4 different processes happen here: ingestion, secretion, chemical and mechanical digestion, and propulsion. So although technically the oral cavity is part of the alimentary canal, it does have accessory organs, the teeth and the tongue. It also has 3 pairs of accessory organs, the salivary glands, and they're located in and around that oral cavity. Those organs turn ingested food into a bolus. A bolus is a moist mass of chewed food. It goes posterior oral cavity, the pharynx, esophagus, and the esophagus delivers the bolus to the stomach. That process is done by swallowing or deglutition. Deglutition is the fancy word for swallowing. All right, teeth and tongue. This is going to do mastication, which is chewing. So along with the help of some muscles, the masseter and temporalis, the teeth are going to chew food. They grind it in smaller pieces, and again, this is called mastication. This helps in digestion by increasing the surface area of the food, which gives those enzymes more places to perform those chemical reactions. It helps catalyze those chemical reactions. The tongue, of course, is involved during ingestion. Movement of the tongue helps turn that food into a bolus. It pushes it against the hard palate during chewing, and that helps with mechanical digestion. It also pushes it backwards during swallowing. Now, your 3 pairs of salivary glands are going to make or secrete saliva, which has water, enzymes, mucus, and solutes. And of course, it's going to leave those glands through a duct and get into the oral cavity. There's 2 main types of cells in the salivary glands: serous cells and mucus cells. The serous cells are water-based fluids with enzymes. Excuse me, they're generally released either before or during eating. And and then your mucus cells secrete mucus, and this is basically trying to keep the oral mucosa moist, and these are released continually. These mucus cells release mucus continually. Back in the serous cells, that fluid has digestive enzymes, which are going to help go ahead and start that process. So let's look at saliva and look what it consists of. Mainly water, sodium, chloride, potassium, mucus are some components of saliva. These are also some important features. The first one is salivary amylase. It's the first digestive enzyme that the ingested food encounters. This is going to catalyze carbohydrate digestion. It's going to break down big polysaccharides into smaller ones. You also have an enzyme called lysozyme. It's going to catalyze the perforation of bacterial plasma, so it's going to allow bacteria-killing substances to get into the saliva so we can kill bacteria. The antibody A, or immunoglobulin A, is found here. It also is going to bind to specific antigens on pathogens and help with their destruction. And then you also have bicarbonate, which is going to neutralize any acid from the stomach that may regurgitate back up into the esophagus. Saliva performs a lot of functions: moistening, lubricating, cleansing the oral mucosa. Lysozyme and antibody A deter growth of bacteria. Mechanical digestion is turning that food into a bolus so we can swallow it. Chemical digestion, of course, is achieved by salivary amylase to start the breaking down the carbohydrates. And then many food dissolve in water, and that, of course, is going to help stimulate taste receptors on the tongue. All right, we're going to stop there, and we'll pick up with the pharynx in the next video.